I think maybe we should start with introductions. So I'm Patricia Murphy. I'm the founding editor of Superstition Review, and I've been teaching at ASU for 27 years. I'm in the College of Integrative Sciences and Arts, and this is Rachel.
Hi everyone, my name is Rachel Hagerman. I'm actually an undergrad student studying English, Writing, Rhetorics, and Literacies, and I've been with Superstition Review since my sophomore year, so this would be my 5th semester, which is really crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, it's weird to think about. So I've worked on the magazine as the content coordinator, a blogger, and now student editor-in-chief.
Yes, wonderful. So I'm going to start our slideshow just by first introducing the magazine itself. So Superstition Review is a totally online literary magazine, and it's produced completely by undergraduates in creative writing, web design, all types of majors. We really take any majors whatsoever, but we do have a lot of English majors because it fits right in with what they're studying. And I founded the magazine in 2008 as a way to give students an opportunity to better understand contemporary art and literature. I was teaching a lot of poetry classes where I always asked the question, name your favorite living American poet. And I usually got things like Elizabeth Barrett Browning or Edgar Allan Poe. I found that a lot of students weren't getting that background with contemporary writers. I mean, people who are vibrant in their careers and living and breathing and doing such wonderful work. So I had the idea of combining a literary magazine run by undergrads with a national, really international, and it turned into an international and global media source for art, fiction, interviews, nonfiction, and poetry. So I want to show you the magazine itself quickly. This is the online magazine, and we host this in Drupal. So in fact, Rachel built the issue that we're going to look at. Do you want to talk a little bit about that, Rachel? Just a few words about what it was like to build that issue out in Drupal?
Yeah, so this was actually my first opportunity to work with Drupal, but being able to, I actually worked on issue 22, 23, and 24. So being able to work throughout those different issues gave me a lot of practice in basic HTML and computer skills that I've used in other jobs as well. So it's been a really valuable resource for the interns.
And so part of what the student does when building out the magazine itself, so Rachel built this issue. So she received, what happens is we get the submissions into our submittable account. The content editors make decisions about what to publish. And then we send acceptance emails to our contributors. And we have about a 2% acceptance rate. So it's very, very competitive. And once we send those acceptances, they email a contract and a headshot and a bio and all of their work to our email account. And Rachel, or whoever is in that role, just starts building the issue out. So for instance, in her issue, we had, this was very interesting. We had this 18-year-old self-portrait photographer who we featured on the cover because I just love this work. It's so, I just find it to be really stunning. We had paintings by Federico Federici, who is, I don't think it says that here, but he's an Italian conceptual artist. So our art sections have a lot of global reach. We get a lot of global interest in our art sections. And then for instance, in fiction, we've got authors from all over the United States. We do publish a lot of established authors to emerging authors. So people who may be in MFA programs like Gage Saylor here, to someone who has several books published and teaches in an MFA program. So it's a wide range of contributors. Each section has its own landing page, as you can see. So we also do events. We do a collaboration with the U of A Poetry Center down in Tucson to bring up artists. They have a huge poetry center and they do a lot of readings there. And so we collaborate with them to bring artists or poets also up to Phoenix. So we do that twice a semester. Unfortunately, both of those were canceled this semester because of COVID. But in each of the areas that we publish in, you'll see that we've got some really, really great people that we're featuring who are leading their field in these areas. So I picked out just a few to show our global reach. So here we've got A. Molotov, who was born in Russia and moved to the United States. Here we've got Adrian Kalfopoulou, who lives in Greece. We've got Svetlana Lavachinkina, who is Ukrainian and lives in Lipskrib now. Rodrigo Franzo is Brazilian. So these people are finding out about us because we have a literary reputation and an artistic reputation that spans the globe. And this is my dream. This is my dream, to connect my students with people who are living and breathing and working in their communities and bringing their art to life. So that's what the issues look like. I want to talk a little bit about the other assets we have that we use to promote our authors and artists. Whenever we accept work from somebody, Rachel, you did such a good job talking about this in your lightning. Do you want to talk a little bit about how we accept people into the Superstition Review family?
Yeah. So we call it the SR family. We actually use that language when we're talking to people through our digital communication. So anyone who's ever been published with the magazine or has worked on the magazine as an intern is part of the SR family. We think of ourselves as a tight-knit community, and we continue to interact with these magazine contributors and interns even after the issue's over or the semester's over.
And I'll show you how we do that. There's a bit of a system to it.
Yes.
So I keep many spreadsheets, and this particular spreadsheet gathers every single person we've published in the last 12 and a half years. We've had 1,200 authors and artists from all over the globe. And we collect their emails, their Twitter handles, and we also solicit blog posts, and we scour the internet for their good news. And so when we get good news about an author or an artist, we publish it. So we just had one push. We pushed this one through our blog. Our blog is a supplement to the magazine. So it because we only publish 2 issues of the magazine a year, the blog allows us to keep going. So we publish about 2 to 4 blog posts a week, and those push to our networks. And we're going to talk extensively about our blog in just a moment, but I want to show you that when we post a blog post about one of our contributors or from one of our contributors, it pushes automatically to all of our social networks. So it pushes to our Facebook page, where we have almost 3,500 followers. It pushes to our LinkedIn account, and it also pushes to our Twitter account, where we have almost 8,800 followers. So through our social media, we are using our platform to bring notoriety and interest about our past contributors. And in that way, we're forming a community and encouraging our past contributors and really cheerleading them along. So anything else you want to say about social media, Rachel?
I think that covers it. Yeah. The social media and the blog work really well together because we have them pushing to the social media to advertise those blog posts.
Right, yeah. And I host the blog in WordPress and the magazine in Drupal so that I can have the opportunity to give students to learning um, learning platforms. So the students learn WordPress and Drupal. So speaking of the blog, Rachel ran the blog last summer. She ran it for 16 weeks and just did an absolutely amazing job. And I'd love for you to talk about that, Rachel.
Yeah, thank you. So one of my favorite parts of working for the blog is we publish guest posts. And so there's two different formats that these take. One is a guest blog post, which is a traditional written posts that our magazine contributors write. And then the other is an author's talk, which is sort of like a podcast where an author that we've published or artist that we've published talks about their craft for 5 to 15 minutes. And we publish that on our blog as well. So I went through our summer blog and I pulled out one that I wanted to highlight. This is an author's talk from Kate Comiskey. It's a little screenshot. In the actual blog, there's also an audio clip at the bottom of the little snippet there. And so this stood out to me because it was very apparent that our conversation over email strengthened the relationship that Kate Comiskey had with Superstition Review. So for example, I actually reached out to Kate Comiskey to ask her if she would be interested in something like this. She got really excited, which I was happy to hear. And we bounced ideas off of what we could possibly create here. So we had in-depth conversation about what she was feeling as an artist. In particular, during the summer, she was feeling a lot of tension from the political and social climate. So what she chose to do was view her art and her craft through this tension that she was noticing, where she was able to further reflect on her community and this word that she titled inertia in order to think about her craft in a new way. So this was a really good way to strengthen our professional relationship because I know more about Kate Comiskey through this author's talk than I have reading her work on the magazine. There was also, some technological difficulties that I was able to help Kate through, as there often are when you're working on projects like this. So that was another way in which we were both learning from each other. So in short, I really love these opportunities because not only does it provide an additional publication opportunity for our contributors, but it also allows us to have an in-depth conversation between the blog editor who's working and the contributor. And then again, as Trish was saying, we have this connected to our social media. And we keep an extensive spreadsheet, as you saw, with all of the tags or handles that our authors use so that we're able to tag them so they have greater visibility online as well.
Great. And I think what I'll do is take this opportunity to just show we've done, 736 guest posts. So the people and these are all written by past contributors. So we have a wide variety of content that we've curated on the blog. It's very shareable. I love the notion that it's so accessible, that it creates a way for our past contributors to get a voice out very easily because they get a nice link that's very shareable. A lot of times poets especially, but poets, fiction writers, nonfiction writers, they publish in print literary magazines with a print run of maybe 1,000. And we use Google Analytics to track how many people are reading their piece, so we can actually give them the feedback. And I say that, and after I publish an issue, I say, if you ever want to know how many people have read or who's read, let me know, and I'll share that information with you. So it makes the work very accessible, and it gives our past contributors a huge platform, a global platform for their ideas and for their work. Anything else you want to say about guest posts and authors talks, Rachel?
I think that wraps up that slide. Thank you.
Okay, I'll just show authors talk category real quick too. This authors talk actually started one of the joys of my job is that my students are so motivated and smart. And Authors Talk started when one of my students said, I love ghost posts, but can we take it up a notch? And so Adam Poole, for instance, taped a video, an interview with one of his students. And we're going to show you some video with Adam and some of his comments about SR in a moment. But the Authors Talk is just a great way to get this, to hear the author's voice and to, again, to give them another platform. So those two types of blog posts work in the same way, just one is all text and one is a podcast form. So the next thing that we were going to talk about is contributor updates. Was that me or you, Rachel?
I can take this one.
Okay.
So contributor updates are also run through the blog. And so we take the opportunity on our blog to celebrate any sort of success our past contributors have had. So it could be a literary award or art award, a creative accomplishment, publication, anything of that nature, professional growth. So as we showed earlier, we keep tabs on all of our contributors, our past contributors, through social media. And yeah, so we keep track of all of our past contributors on social media so that we can research and understand where these contributors are going. And it's always really exciting to see when, say, for example, Caitlin Horrocks just published a book. It's always exciting to see that and be up to date on that. And not only is it exciting, but it gives us the opportunity to share that with our community as well. So for example, Caitlin published this back last summer, the Vexations. So we took this opportunity to draft up a post celebrating her work so that all of our readers were able to see this update as well. And then afterwards, what we do is we email them privately. So I emailed Caitlin congratulating her on her book, explaining how excited I was for her, and letting her know that we would have a contributor update going out. And so not only is this on the blog, but it's also attached to the, or connected to the social media. And we use tags so that the author can retweet or share that in their stories for greater visibility.
Great. And I'll show you, we've done 320 contributor updates on the blog. So those are really, a lot of it is the student who posts them just reads Twitter, like looks at who contributed to our magazine and reads on Twitter or does a Google search and finds them and shares their information. So this has been one of, I think, the most important things that we've done to secure our reputation as an accessible, a kind, a careful publishing opportunity. Now, we also post intern updates. So we've had 320 interns in the program, and we do the same thing for our interns. We have a spreadsheet with all of the intern information. I keep track of where each intern is now working. We have their LinkedIn. I have the students connect with each other on LinkedIn so that they form an instant community. And on the blog, we do publish intern updates. For instance, this one's very exciting. Colleen Stinchcomb she actually worked our Twitter for issue 11, and she did just an amazing job. It's not easy to work a Twitter, especially when it's, you just have to get the voice down. But her career has just taken off with her freelance writing and editing. So she's been an outside GQ, REI, Self, Shape. So she's been publishing all over. We have another intern, Elizabeth Sheets, who's getting her MA in the Narrative Studies program, and she's also managing, she's the associate editor of the Journal of Proteome Research here at ASU. So I always love celebrating students who go on to use their skills in in their jobs. So we want to talk a little bit also about professional correspondence, and part of that has to do with the attitude that we take when we reach out to our contributors. And one of the things that I do when I train students to use our Gmail, because anytime they're sending an email on behalf of Superstition Review, I find it very important to keep a consistent tone. And so we do keep some templates. I use templates in Gmail where they can make sure that they have all of the information that they need to send, but also the templates model just very, very strong sense of humanity, kindness, and enthusiasm, so that every single email we send on behalf of the magazine displays confidence, but also encourages authors and artists to know how much we care about them. So we had planned on taping videos with contributors at AWP, which is the Associated Writing and Writing Programs Conference that took place in San Antonio, but we could not go because of COVID-19. So we also moved our interview to a virtual format, and we just sent out a tweet and asked our contributors to hop in and talk to us about what Superstition Review has meant for them. So I have a little bit of the tape. I was going to play a little bit of the tape for you, but I'll also summarize some of the comments. So let me make sure that this is playing for you.
Catherine, I'm just starting with the question, describe your experience with Superstition Review.
Cool. Should I go?
Yeah, will you?
Okay. Yeah, I was really excited to see this invitation in particular because Superstition Review published some of my very first poems when I was very first starting writing. So way back in 2013. It was under the name Catherine Bailey because I wasn't married then.
I was going to say, I know your face, but I see a new name.
Yeah, and I ended up getting married that year. But yeah, so it was like just under the deadline for new name. And I think I went to AWP in 2013 just to the book fair, and I went up to the Superstition Review people, and I can't remember who I talked to. It might have been you, I don't know, but I was like clutching this mug at the AWP table and was just like so excited about Superstition Review, and whoever it was I talked to was like, "You just take that mug," and I still have my mug. I really treasure it because it was just so kind, and I was just so like very young as a writer and was just so excited, and yeah, I've kept it with me through several moves, and every time I use it I like think of that fond interaction with Superstition Review. So yeah, I was really excited to see this meeting. So yeah, like, thank you. Thanks for being a great journal, and thanks for being great.
Yeah, that is so kind of you. I love that story. Okay, my next question is, please discuss ways that Superstition Review has supported your career.
Not for me too.
Yeah, so we have 2 editors here and 3 contributors. So I'm just asking a few questions, and what we're going to do is we're going to take clips to use in our conference that we're doing on Tuesday. And then after we're done asking you questions, we'd love to have your questions too.
Okay, cool. Well, for me, I know, like I said, it was one of my very first publications. I think I had maybe 2 or 3 before that.
It's 2 o'clock.
So yeah, so it was just a huge confidence boost, and it meant I felt more empowered to write more things and submit more work, and yeah, it was a very memorable like early stepping stone that felt like a really big deal and continues to feel like a big deal. So it's like one of my proudest publications. So yeah.
Ooh. Hardest as in most competitive market?
Oh, proudest, like I
proudest.
like,
yeah.
I'm just like I look back on it and I'm like, that, you know, that was an important moment, I think, where I felt like there were maybe people who wanted to read what I was writing. So
Great.
Okay, so I'll pause there. So Catherine is a writer, teacher, and scholar based in Boise, Idaho, and she has a book of poetry along with some shorter collections. And so it was great to hear her talk about how we were one of her first publications and probably got her going in the desire to keep publishing. Also in the clips, Adam Poole, who he's published in the magazine twice, and he's done an author's talk. He just had a book come out in 2017. He lives in South Carolina. He's an assistant professor of English at Francis Marion. And this is what he said. He said, issue 9 was the first time I appeared with y'all, and that was a while back, and I loved making the recordings and seeing it up. And then this last time was issue 24. For me as a poet, it has been fantastic. It's very humbling. I'm very honored. But I think as I've moved forward from the first time I've appeared and then the second, one of the things I've come to appreciate a lot more is the role of the student editors. And as I've grown as an educator, it helped me reconfigure my relationship with my students as well. So that was a really meaningful comment for me as an educator, that not only are we providing a source for access to literature and the arts, but we're a model for how to involve undergraduates in the publishing process. And then John is a writer, speaker, artist, and creative thinking consultant, very creative man. And he's had many, many publications in literary journals. And he said this, he said, everyone there seems to make me feel special. There's a very personal response and it feels good. Sharing the work, getting it received, and the comments back from all of you is just friendly and one-on-one. I feel like when you're talking to me, you're talking to me, and that's really cool. You guys do a very, very good job of that. So it was lovely to have that kind of feedback from contributors, because that's exactly what we're trying to do. Rachel, is there anything you want to add there?
I wanted to add, so this will be on the next slide, add on to what Adam was talking about with the student growth.
Yeah.
Because Superstition Review, I'm speaking from the intern perspective, as I mentioned earlier, is a great opportunity for students to develop their skills. So for example, from my perspective, I've had the opportunity to learn from both Drupal and WordPress, and I've had the chance to work and use those skills in different jobs. So that's been very valuable to me. It's given me the opportunity to practice professional and interpersonal communication. This is a really good chance for students who are interested in literary magazine publishing to get an in-depth look at what it means to run a magazine. And also, do I have time to share some of the responses we had from our
yeah, do you
okay.
sharing my screen?
Oh no, that's okay. I'll just read them out loud.
Okay.
So what we had done to get to the content editor's feedback is talk about how their interaction with SR has impacted their own writing and art. So I'll pull up their responses here and I'll read a few of them. So this is from Andrew Hatch. And he said, I realized that not a single word is wasted in any piece of writing, and that it is always beneficial to think critically about the small things. On top of that, I realized that people go through many of the same situations, but have deeply unique and personal takes on them. This gives me the opportunity to tell my story, knowing people out there are struggling just as much as I am. And then from Talia Risto, she said, I now look at my own craft from an editor's point of view. Even though I was only the art editor, I still view my own writing from a more meticulous standpoint, using what SR has shown me about art from a universal perspective. I'll share one more from Lucas Selby. He's very comical, so take this with a grain of salt. He says, I'm now the best writer I know, and every magazine should accept my work, please. But seriously, I now have a better idea of what fiction editors are looking for. If my piece doesn't make me laugh or cry or delightedly every time I read it. It's not ready for submission. Fiction editors have enough literature to have enough, sorry, my screen just went. Fiction editors have enough literature to go through, so I want to make sure I'm giving them the most enjoyable read I can produce. It makes my time worth it, so it should be worth it to others. So reading those over, I noticed that a lot of them commented on having a new lens to look at their work through. So being able to be in the editor's shoes has allowed these students who are passionate about art and writing to look at their own craft from a new point of view, which is very valuable. And then lastly, I wanted to say that this magazine internship has allowed students to create connections to the literary community.
Yeah. Wonderful. Yeah, that was my dream.
Yes.
Big dream. Well, good. We wanted to leave some time for questions, so I'll just end with our contact information if anybody wants to reach out to us. I'm in the Interdisciplinary Humanities and Communication program, and Rachel is in English, and she is also in Barrett, and she's my student editor-in-chief for Superstition Review.